See my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So welcome everyone. This is our first CDF monthly member call. So today we're going to have Tracy Reagan, CEO of Deploy Hub and CDF governing board member, present and do an introduction. It'll be followed by me, Jacqueline Salinas. I'm the Director of Ecosystem and Community Development at CDF. We just launched and rolled out about 5 different projects. So we're going to be doing a demo of the website so that you guys understand where everything lives and you guys know how to submit your content to the CDF. So we'll be doing that, and then hopefully we'll be joined by Rosalind Benoit. She is the Director of Community at Armory, and she is the CDF Outreach Committee Chair. She just replaced Alyssa Tong. And thank you, Alyssa Tong, if you are on, for all the great work you did to help stand up the CDF Outreach Committee in 2019 and also early 2020. We really appreciate all your hard work. And lastly, we're wrapping up with Tracy Miranda. She is the Director of Open Source Community at Cloudbees, and she is also our newest CDF Governing Board Chair. Okay, all righty.
Hey, thank you, Jackie. Yes, thank you so much. So as I say, we are one and ready to run. We've had quite a year in 2019. We turned 1 early this year, so we're kind of all excited about that. We've made our first year. I want to first thank everybody for allowing me to serve as the general member board rep. It's a very important position and I take it very serious. So I want to thank all of you for the vote of confidence that I should serve in a second year. And also I want to thank all of the member companies who have been with us from the beginning. You're awesome. You know, with a new foundation, there's bumps in the road. We you know, didn't have a lot to offer in terms of member benefits. So we've gotten some of that out of the way. One of the first things we did in terms of our achievements, we hired Jackie. She's been a great ecosystem director so far, and you're going to see some of the benefits that she has put together. We also held CD summits in EMEA and North America. There's a new project. We added screwdriver.io as a new project. We grew our membership. We initiated the outreach committee, as Jackie just alluded to. And we built out a pretty nice outreach platform, and we created several new working groups. So we were slow to start, I feel like, but we really are on a really strong path now. Next slide. So what I really want to convey to all of you is that we really need to take advantage of your benefits. There are many new benefits now, and we're going to go over that during this particular meeting, and I think it's really important to take advantage of it. I have been the guinea pig for some of these, so I've gone first just to make sure all of the kinks in the system were worked out, the forms made sense, how we put the podcast together and the webinars together. So I went first, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I think you will too. I also want to encourage you to join the outreach committee. The peers on the outreach committee are pretty amazing. They're doing some really, really amazing work, including we did some new messaging, and there's going to be some new messaging that we were able to bring in some of the folks from the Cloud Foundry Foundation to help us. The outreach committee is where pretty much everything is happening, and really it would be great to have more folks on this outreach committee. And as we go through these new benefits, one I really want to highlight is if you have a virtual event that you're sponsoring, please let us know. I call it Getting Through COVID-19. As you all know, we had originally planned on being at some in-person events, and now that's not going to happen. The Linux Foundation has done a lot of work on building out a virtual platform that will be able to host virtual events in the future. But it is May, and if you do have if you're having a virtual event that we should sponsor, we should know about it. An example that we're doing is one with the DevOps Institute that I think happens this coming week, or maybe on the 26th, I can't remember. And your news is really important. We want to hear what our members are doing, and we have a newsletter that could really use some more information. So if you have news that we should know about, let us know. Go ahead and submit it, and Jackie is going to go over how to submit that. And if there are member benefits that we should be offering that we're not going to cover today, please call me, talk to me. You can reach me on LinkedIn really easily. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. It's my new favorite place to hang out. So please reach out to me and we can chat. I'll send you a calendar invite and we can just talk about the benefits that you'd like to see. And, I have this thing about open source projects. I feel like every one of us have teams that are probably using open source tools to do their work. If you see an open source tool that your team is using or you have a favorite one, let Jackie know about it because she'll pass that on to the oversight committee. And that's how we're going to grow, is by understanding what really cool tools are out there that people are using for their CDF pipelines, and start building out the CDF as a broader coalition of tools and teams and members. And on that, I'll pass it on to Jackie, and she's going to go through what those member benefits are that you really should take advantage of.
Okay, awesome. So just a really quick overview of the benefits that we're currently offering, and then I'm going to switch over to do a demo of the CD Foundation website. So you guys that is going to be your center, that's going to be your hub to get all of that content submitted. So right now I launched a podcast. It's called The Pipeline, All Things CI/CD and DevOps. So this is available for all of our members to leverage. So if you have an idea and you want to submit, there's a form for that. There are some guidelines, so I will also let you know where those resources are so you can reference them prior to submitting. We also are launching webinars. Our first webinar is May 26th, and that is Deploy Hub. So Tracy Reagan is, like she mentioned, our first guinea pig for that. We have guest blogs, as well as our blog channel. So we offer this to our members as well as our ambassador program. And webinars and podcasts are also, let me clarify, available to our ambassadors as well. So we vet that content, and then you would work with Jesse Kassman, who is our PR and comms guy, and then he'll work on getting that published for you. Now, for the newsletter, we're publishing that on a monthly cadence. We collect the content by topic. So we just started doing that for May. So May was interoperability month. The next one coming up is ML Ops. I have a few tweets about it, asking the community if they have any content that they want to contribute to send it over our way. But this is also a benefit for you guys. If you have content that you already published, or if you haven't, we prefer original content, because this would be the first time the community is seeing it is through our newsletter. So yeah, let us know about that. And then we also have it published on the website, I think through July, the topics that we are thinking about curating. So take a look at that. And we've also got some guidelines for it. And events and sponsorships. So we had to quickly pivot to do a virtual strategy versus in-person events as a result of COVID-19. We have a few of them that we're trying to plan. So if you didn't know about this, CD Summit Europe is going virtual. We are still working through those final dates, but that will soon get published. The next one that we are trying to establish as our flagship event, unfortunately, we couldn't launch it as an in-person event this year, but we are kicking it off as a virtual event, and that is CDCon. And I believe that's going to be somewhere in the time frame of early October. And then the last one for this year is also CD Summit North America. We don't have an update yet whether that's going to move forward as an in-person event. If not, then it'll probably transition to be virtual as well. As Tracy mentioned, we are also trying to sponsor third-party events. Our first events that we are sponsoring are with the DevOps Institute Skill Up Days, which are their one-day micro conferences. The first one is Skill Up Day Enterprise Kubernetes. That is happening on May 21st, 9 a.m. through 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I sent out an email and I invited all of our members to submit to us PDF format, white papers, case studies, any kind of marketing material about your company and about your product. We are welcoming it in our booth. We have a virtual booth. We also invite you to donate some of your time, talk about your company, talk about the CDF, or if you are an expert in one of our projects, we also invite you to donate some of your time that way too, to help attendees like if they have questions about Jenkins or they have questions about Spinnaker, we're asking our members to also donate some of their time to answer those types of questions. And then finally, the ambassador program. This launched early in February. We finally have solidified it a little bit more. We had our first monthly call at the beginning of the month. We've got about 23 folks who are showing up, who showed up to our first meeting, who are, working on their blogs, because that's one way that we're announcing them is through a blog, and then we do social media promotion. And so that program is still evolving, but basically these are the folks that are going to be helping us establish a presence in certain regions where we do not have a meetup group. They're the folks that are going to be co-organizing a lot of these meetups. If you have an evangelist in your company that you think would be a great ambassador, please send them over our way or recommend him. I've got an application for that as well. And so, what we believe these programs will do for you, it'll help with brand awareness. It's free content too for you. I'm taking up most of the production. I just need your guys' brain and your guys' knowledge. And then I'll go and produce that content, whether it's, podcast, webinar, or whatever. We also do a lot of the promotion through social media. So the two channels that we're using quite a bit are LinkedIn and Twitter. And also we're starting to use our email channel a little bit more. And so that's another area where we need some help, is growing that list. I think right now our emailing list is about 900 folks, but I think we can grow it, and that can also be another channel for us to generate awareness, not only for your brand and your product, but also for the CDF. Okay, so let me see. So the pipeline, all things CI/CD and DevOps, we just published episode 2. And this is, so let me start over. When you go to our landing page, so the CD Foundation, this is the first image you're going to see. Under news and events, and this is where you'll start to find all of our applications. So if you go to blog, and this is the only one that's like that, and this is because I don't manage the program, but for blog, if you are interested in submitting a blog idea, I recommend that you first visit our guidelines. And this is hosted on GitHub. It gives you an overview of the type of blog content that we're looking for. And so, yeah, I invite you to read this prior to submitting a blog. And then you're going to go over and hit submit a blog. And this is going to redirect you to a Gravity form. And this is how we are collecting and keeping all of our blog submissions organized. So if you have an idea, this is where you go. Okay, so now we go back to the home page. Under content submission, if you have an event, say you're hosting an event, I think also if you have an event idea, let me see, how did I set this up? Yeah, so we ask for your name, email, the event name, and I think down here is where the type of support you need. So if you're looking for sponsorship, if you're looking for a speaker, if you need people to volunteer, if you want, for example, you have a booth and you want CDF to be represented there, this is also the same form you're going to use to request that support. Or if you need materials or swag, if you need, for example, our PR and comms folks to step in and help you ghostwrite a blog or whatever, or call for papers, this is where you would go and submit it as well. because the other thing I want to show you guys is we have an events page. And what I'm trying to do with this events page is also collect all of the industry events and also represent them here. So like we're going to be at Skill Up Days. Spinnaker Live is going to be co-hosted with Armory. We have CD Europe here. We also have DevOps World. And then there's more events to come as well that will get published because I'm a little bit behind on that. But this is where if you have an idea, if your company is sponsoring or setting up an event, let us know and we'll publish it here too. Okay. So now if you have content for the newsletter, again, under news and events, content submission, you go to the newsletter submission form. And here is where we'll update it every month. So yeah, we have the topics through July. Gives you when your drafts are due and when we'll publish the newsletter. And so the gravity form is just right below that calendar. And we basically just need you guys to give us sharing permission so that we can access that content. But this is how we're collecting it. Now moving on to webinar submissions, same thing again. It's a simple form, name, email, your job title, your webinar, and then your webinar summary. I'll probably follow up and ask you for a bio and a headshot. And what I use that for is for promotion on social media. I make like Twitter cards and that kind of stuff. And then podcast. So same thing again. This one's a little bit, there's a few more steps to this too in the webinar. I have a Calendly set up so that you can also go and set up your recording time. So as you can see, it'll redirect you to the CD Foundation's Calendly. You'll pick a date. For podcasts, I record on Mondays and Fridays. And then for webinars, we record Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So yeah, you would pick a time that's available and, you know, it's self-explanatory after that. Then you would submit your talk. I follow up and confirm the recording date. And then I will also, again, ask you for a bio and for a headshot to do promotion. And so the next slides are just the step-by-step instructions on how to submit all of this stuff. So I'm not going to go over this since I already did the demo. These are all just links, and let me see. And if you guys have questions, you're welcome to also, you know, enter them in the chat box, and I'll address them. Okay. So yeah, so for events, we have the CD Summit series. Our first big one was in, well, there were a few big ones, but I think the one that I was a part of, the first one I was a part of was North America. And in this one, I think this was the first time we did the Mindshare Cocktail Hour. And it was a lot of fun. I think it brought a lot of folks together to talk about technology, but it also added a fun gamification element to it. So we had a few sponsors. There was JFrog, White Source, Deploy Hub, and then all of them contributed a giveaway, and we did a raffle, and that's what the little picture is about, is JFrog giving away, I believe that was like a Nintendo Switch. So we're trying to add more elements to our events, just besides just, you know, like the conference talks, and they're evolving as we grow. But if you have ideas, please reach out to me. And then this is the next one that we're sponsoring. If you have an event that you think the CD Foundation should sponsor, please let us know. Submit a form, I review them, and then I'll roll that up to the outreach committee. And then from the outreach committee, we'll roll it up to the governing board for budget approval. Okay, yeah, so these are just, you know, how do you keep up to date to our event list? And that just links back to that event calendar on the CD Foundation page. yeah, this was, I'll skip this. Yeah, so again, EU is going virtual. I don't know the dates yet. Boston is in November. Again, we need to confirm if it's going to be an in-person event or not. And then CDCon, I think we just confirmed the dates for October 7th through the 9th. And then our big in-person event, our goal is CDCon 2021. That will be June of 2021 in San Diego, Gaslamp. So this would be our big in-person event. And this is not going to be co-located with CubeCon. This is just us. So the ambassador program, there's also a application for that as well. And this is just a high level overview of what we're trying to do with this program. So we are using them to evangelize the CDF, and we have 9 strategic goals that Tracy Miranda will go over, and that's basically their marching orders, what they're trying to accomplish with us is these 9 strategic goals. And again, we're trying to grow our community through Meetup, and also have them go and teach individuals about the charter of the CDF. And again, like Tracy Reagan said, we just developed this really cool new messaging. So I think that will be really helpful, not just to the ambassadors, but also to our members, because we really do rely on your network as well to grow. So if you're ever talking about the CDF, please let us know once we have that polished and finished, we'll share that documentation so that you are also equipped to know how to talk about the CD Foundation and what we're trying to do. Some of the benefits we are offering our ambassadors, again, is we are giving them special recognition of who they are in our community. I've just designed a ambassador kit, which will give them a CDF t-shirt, and then I'm also giving them 100 decals of each of the projects, as well as the CD Foundation. And again, just some of the perks are, the network. We have a dedicated CDF ambassador landing page that identifies each of our ambassadors. And we also rely on them quite a bit to help us produce content for the podcast, for the webinars, for our newsletters, and for our blogs. And what some additional benefits that we're trying to do for our ambassadors, if there are need-based applicants, we also want to make sure that they attend our events, whether they're virtual or in person. So that's something that we're trying to think through, is how do we offer free tickets to our events? How do we offer travel and lodging sponsorship for these folks? So they get access to all of our collateral. We have a monthly call. We are also trying to plan an in-person event gathering, and this probably will be at CDCon. And again, we're just opening our network to them. We are also trying to give them special recognition, and here are some of the quarterly and yearly awards that we're trying to think through. And so now for social media, this is something that we've been really trying to work on. When I first inherited these 2 accounts, we had a strong following. But because we've been able to just ramp up our production and content, we have seen, for example, Twitter grow by 94%. And the number of total followers to date is actually now incorrect. We are at 4,007. So this is also another way for you guys. If you have events you want to promote, you have blogs you've written, please leverage us. I'm happy to retweet, or if you have, click to tweets, send that my way. I will also make sure that those get scheduled so that you can also expand your reach when it comes to driving awareness of the programs you guys are driving. And LinkedIn too, month over month. So like last month, we had a 76%, we were up 76% on page views from the previous month, so from March. We are seeing that our unique visitors is growing. So we were up 67% in April. And then also how people are engaging with our content. We are up 525%, which means basically that 25 people actually clicked on our content last month. And then as you can see, from a year ago, our yearly traffic was about 50 people through our page. Now we're about 300 folks driving, going and visiting our LinkedIn page. So we're doing a lot better. But again, that was I've seen it really take an up, it grow because we are producing more content. We have more to offer the community, so that's why people are coming through our social channels to see what we're posting. And then in a year, LinkedIn grew its followers by 87%. So here's also the podcast performance. Our first podcast episode actually got about 242 downloads in total. So that was in that's not in the 30 days. That's the way that they do their algorithm is a little bit funky, but in the first day we had about 94 downloads. That was the average. So again, we're reaching people, and I expect this to keep growing as we produce more and more content. Okay, is Rosalind on? Okay, I guess she couldn't make it. Okay, so hello?
You want me to take that, Jackie?
Oh yeah, you could take it.
So yeah, this is Tracy again. So as I said, please consider joining the outreach committee. It's been a really fun place to meet our peers and really give Jackie some clear marching orders in terms of what we want. And as you can see, she's been really, really busy. We do have 3 I would call them working groups, but they're subcommittees. There is the member outreach. Anita Ross from IBM is currently the subcommittee chair, and that is all about reaching out to you as members and focusing on what your benefits, what you want.
Hey, Tracy,
and we have, yeah,
really quickly, it's not Anita. Remember,
oh, she's okay.
She's part of the project outreach, so we'll need to update that. Sorry, folks.
Okay.
We're still looking for somebody. FYI, if somebody would like to start driving that, because there is a gap there. We need to do more member outreach.
And we have focused, as you can see, on what we need to do to create the member benefits, and that is part of that member outreach subcommittee group. So the higher umbrella of the CDF outreach has really been focused on members the last several months. We also have a project outreach committee, and that focuses on the projects themselves and bringing awareness around the projects, getting the project, some of the committers to get involved. And so it's specifically around messaging and project outreach. And then there's this messaging subcommittee, which really is doing both a little bit of event work and work on the higher level messaging. This has been somewhat of a working group. We're getting close to finishing the higher level messaging. That will have to get trickled down into everything that we're doing, and this committee is working on making sure that that is occurring. And when I say trickle down, I mean that website's updated, any of our meetups, how we position our meetups, and just a standard message across all of our collateral. The outreach meetings, the subcommittee outreach meetings, the member, the project, the messaging, will schedule their own meetings, but we all have a single meeting once every 2 weeks.
Okay. All right, moving on to the governing board 6 in landscape. Tracy Miranda, you ready?
Yes. Hi, everybody. So I'm the other Tracy. So Tracy Miranda, I'm Director of Open Source at CloudBees. And I've just recently been elected as the governing board chair, taking over from Kim Lewandowski of Google. So this first slide is basically a set of 9 goals, which the initial board developed. We had a great brainstorming session, Jez Humble, joined, as well as project leads and the governing board. And what came out of that was really that there's a lot of different areas that CDF wants to get involved with. And whether that's driving continuous delivery adoption or helping the growth of our projects. There's also the sense that as a vendor neutral community, we're uniquely positioned to tackle big industry-wide challenges. And this would include things like driving for better tool interoperability, driving for better clarity across the industry, championing diversity and inclusion, and tackling things like security, across projects and across communities. So while there's a lot on this slide, it is being split up across, whether it's the outreach committee or the technical oversight committee or the governing board or different member companies. We're figuring out the program plan to get some movement on all of these. So if you go to the next slide, please, Jackie. But I think overall, what we really see as the vision, and this was, we did a recent exercise and talking to everybody about where we want to head, and this was the overall message, is that we're really all about improving the world's capacity to deliver software with security and speed. And, we're the only organization kind of uniquely positioned across technologies and companies and individuals to make that big difference. Next slide, please, Jackie. So starting off with our initial projects, we've got projects at different stages of the technology adoption lifecycle. Continuous integration and continuous delivery have been around for a long time, and everybody's got a form of it one way or the other. But what we're seeing today in the industry is, a shift towards new emerging technologies, things like cloud native, things which change how you deploy, which change the number of environments, and as a result leads to the emergence of new technologies and new projects. So on the one hand, we have projects like Jenkins and Spinnaker, which have really good adoption. And then on the other hand, you've got these newer projects, things like Jenkins X and Tekton, which is looking to standardize building blocks across cloud native technologies. And we have a lot of developers from a lot of companies working on these solutions. And we want to keep growing these projects and finding complementary technologies so we can help people democratize practices and tooling. Next slide. So one of our first initiatives in driving clarity for the industry was to set up the CDF, the CI/CD landscape. So if anyone's familiar with the cloud native landscape, that started off just highlighting a few projects and then grew to, some people call it the hellscape today. But we're not looking for this to, just be a mass of different projects, but to talk about, the different categories. What are the different stages and the different types of tools, and how do we understand which ones fit in which area? And this is something Tracy Reagan and team helped kick off the first version of the landscape. And we're building that up with the ambassadors and with the rest of the community to build a really full picture of all the options and the tools that are out there. And we certainly would like to make sure members are represented in there, and any tooling that you're involved with can let us know, and we'll make sure it's added to that as we continue to build this up as a reference for the industry. And a couple of things I want to highlight. Some of the really innovative things are happening in our special interest groups. The first one is the interoperability SIG. It has a lot of members, including, not just folks from the projects, but we've got folks from the industry and companies like eBay and Ericsson. And there we're having conversations about, how do we help our users? How do we get tools to interoperate? How do we make it easier to, move workloads between different tooling. And one of the really interesting things that came out from those conversations is we just very quickly realized how confusing it is for new users, because different CI/CD tools tend to use different terminology. So something like a job in one tool is slightly different in another tool. And in our role as, driving some clarity and hopefully a route to standardization, we started with a document there which maps out all different CI/CD tools. We've got commits from people who write those tools, and they've submitted PRs. And we're calling this, it's like the Rosetta Stone of CI/CD. And it's just our first step towards establishing a shared vocabulary for the industry and making sure people understand what the different things, how the different things are defined, and we're not talking at cross purposes. So the interoperability group is open to all members. I highly encourage you, if you get a copy of the slides, there's some links to when the meetings are held and how you can get involved. Next slide. And the other special interest group that is doing a lot of great stuff is the Machine Learning Ops SIG. And they're putting together an initial roadmap for things they would like to tackle. And a couple of things I pulled out from that roadmap, because I particularly love this, is just a definition first of, what is their scope and what is ML Ops in the way they're thinking about it. And it's really all about the extension of the DevOps methodology to include machine learning and data science assets as first-class citizens. So we're not just talking about code, but we're talking about the algorithm, the data, and how do you do all the things to version it, release it, and manage that life cycle. And also raising awareness about best practices. So, simply taking Jupyter notebooks into production environments is, it's not a good way to go about it. So just they'll be looking at putting together white papers and more information about best use of technology and what sort of trade-offs you'll make. So again, this is open to everyone, but we're keen to help our members engage with these groups. So if you are interested, just reach out to me and I'll happily introduce you to folks doing things there. And those are our main special interest groups. We have a number of other ones, and we're always open to starting new ones. So yeah, I think as I'm looking forward to, as we push forward on other areas as well, more in security and more of other things. And if anybody has some thoughts on areas, please let me know.
Great. Well, thank you everyone who joined. We really appreciate it. I will publish the recording, and then I will also send out all of the materials so that everyone who wasn't able to join has the chance to review them. If there's any questions, I can, here, I'll make everyone allowed to talk if they have questions or feedback.
Yeah, the only thing I want to just as a sub note there, in terms of the webinars and podcasts, in the future we may have limits on how many you can do, but right now we don't, so it's a good time to get some in.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Wait, is this Tracy?
It is. Tracy's is Rosalind.
Thank you. Thank you for covering my slide.
No problem.
I came on right as you were like in the middle of it, and then with the whole webinar thing, I didn't.
Well, is there something you'd like to add to the outreach committee to get some folks to join?
Oh, is everybody still on the call? That's embarrassing. I think the only thing that I wanted to add is just one of the quotes that really stuck with me in the messaging that we put together is the more that you participate, the more you get in return. And I think I am personally a pretty good success story on that, because I just joined the outreach committee, in November. And I already feel like we've gotten a lot of value out of it in the Spinnaker community and gotten a lot of visibility. And I've noticed that the more I participate in the CDF outreach committee, the more kind of we have a broader reach as in the CDF community than we do in the Spinnaker community, and I've been leveraging that. So I invite you to come, because the more of us that we have to do that, we're just going to compound the impact that we can all make. So that's all. Please join.
And I would like to point out one last thing, is that everybody who presented today are women.
Oh yeah,
Heck yeah.
that's also the new up and coming initiative is also, you know, we're trying to, part of our goals is doing diversity and inclusion. So our first one that we've created, and it's called a CDF. So this is something that we are creating to help, you know, people who identify with the pronoun she and are supporters of women in tech. We're kicking that off. I'm still producing it. I've got the brand down, but you know, I'd like, if anybody wants to help, this is open to anyone. Grow this program, develop it, please reach out to me, because that is one of our goals. That's one of our 9 strategic goals is to start having a more diverse and inclusive community.
And currently it is a LinkedIn group, so you might get an invite.
Yes.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone. And I will give you guys some time back, some 14 minutes. And we will be doing this every month.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you at the outreach committee.
Thanks.
Bye.